Greetings, YouTube. The No Child Left Behind policy, which is a holdover from the Bush era, is a phenomenal failure. Plain and simple, it doesn't achieve its goal, which is to make sure our students are educated. All it does is test students repeatedly and forces their education to be based on whether or not they can pass those tests. And there's a big difference between passing a test and being educated. In fact, I would even argue that there could actually be no correlation whatsoever between passing a test and being fully educated. Because being fully educated is a much more complex and nuanced achievement than passing a test. Passing a test just means that you've gotten good at passing tests. It doesn't mean you actually know anything about the subject. If that you understand how it fits into the context of information, of your society at large, how that topic may apply to other subjects. Those things don't matter. As long as you can mark all those little black circles appropriately on a piece of paper, you win. You might as well have the students memorize the patterns of the little black ovals on the paper for as much good as it will do to improving their education. I'm going to link to an article today which deals with some schools who are in the 98 to 99th percentile of compliance. But because that they can't get any higher, because in the real world no one's perfect, they may get listed as failures because their school can't bring up their points any higher because their students are already performing properly. Why? Because all they care about is the test scores. They're not concerned with whether the students actually know anything, whether they can comprehend how all of their education works together as a cohesive whole. Because an education is more than the sum of its parts. If you dissect something down far enough, you end up with nothing of import at all. A human being is worth a whole lot more to us here amongst the living than a bunch of body parts. And yes, financially, those body parts may still have a value, but not to the loved ones and the friends and the family of the person that used to belong to those body parts. Intelligent people, wise people, realize that a whole functioning human being is of much greater value to society than a bunch of body parts. But that's not what the No Child Left Behind policy does. The No Child Left Behind policy says that a child's comprehensive education is less important than a bunch of disjointed test results. Except that's not going to help anyone. I'm going to go a quick little anecdote. I learned about something recently. They did a test with chess players. They gave them chess boards that had a bunch of chess pieces set up as though a game had just finished. 25 pieces. They presented each of these images to to a selection of chess players for 5 to 10 seconds. They then studied to see how many of these people got the placement memorized by asking them to recreate it. Well, the Grandmasters, 100% compliance. Masters, 90% compliance. And everybody else was in like the 5% range. They just weren't good enough to read the language that is chess, as the Grandmasters and the Masters could, just by glancing at the board for 5 to 10 seconds. Then they took that same group of people and presented them with chess boards with 25 random placements of chess pieces. No piece actually being where it would normally be in a game. They asked all of them, here you can look at it for 5 to 10 seconds. Recreate it. And everybody got the same, about 5 to 6% success rate. Why? Because they were being presented with nonsense. They weren't being presented with something that was in a context. Even the Grandmasters weren't any better at memorizing random chess pieces than anyone else, because the information being presented to them wasn't being presented as part of the language of chess. It was just random crap. And people aren't good at that. People aren't good at remembering pointless things unless they are in context. And we don't learn things in a general pool and then in specific. We learn in the specific. And if we're smart and we're lucky, we learn how to apply that information in the general. It doesn't work the other way around. So we need our students to be able to have the time and the effort to focus on each topic until they can get the specifics, until they can understand the language of that topic, whether it be math or biology or sociology or history or whatever topic it is. If you just ask students to push the buttons properly in a certain sequence, all you're doing then is teaching them to play Simon Says. You're not actually making sure they're educated. And we need an educated population, particularly in today's world where jobs are getting harder to come by, competition is more stringent, and the world market is more than willing to take up any slack that we give them. So the No Child is Left Behind policy needs to be scrapped. We need to make sure our students are being educated in the way they need to be educated. We need to place this into the hands of people with degrees in education, not politicians who have an agenda they want to push. Making sure that students hit some magic number isn't going to work. What is going to work is making sure that the people who want to get children properly educated have the funding, have the resources, and have everything else they need to make sure that their kids, their students, can do the best they possibly can. Now, constantly politicians are asking the question of being asked by the general public, won't someone think of the children? Well, I'm thinking of some of the children here, folks. And I want to put the child's education into the hands of educators, not politicians. So maybe someone will listen. Maybe someone will decide that, handing this off to someone who actually has an education might be a good idea.